Welcome back to Quickbooks 2016. My name is Charles. We are starting now on module 4, and this is the module where we are going to talk about customers and jobs in QuickBooks. A customer is a person or a business which buys products or services from your business. Is either business or a person who buys from you. A job would be an individual activity or work that you do for a specified customer. And you might do multiple jobs for the same customer. So, not every one of you will be using job feature in QuickBooks. In other words, when you are creating your company, it doesn't mean that you are going to be using the job feature in the QuickBooks. Some of you are going to have just customers. You're just going to have customers, and that's okay. But I want you to know how all of this works in QuickBooks. So let's go ahead and flip over to QuickBooks, and I will start talking to you a little bit about how customers and jobs are set up in QuickBooks. So the customer list in QuickBooks, let me just open one sample file. As it is loading, we want to look at the customer list or a list of customers in QuickBooks. And the list of customers in QuickBooks is actually called the customer center. And there are few different ways that we can get to the customer center, or that can help us to see the customer list. You can use options. You can use these options within the flowchart as we are waiting for our document to load. But one of the things that we can go through to reach to our customer list is by looking at the flowchart, where we are going to be clicking at, where we are going to be clicking on customers within our home screen. And that will help us to go to the customer list. And the second item, or the second way, we can even use our icon bars. In other words, we can use the icon bar to be able to access the customer list or the customer center. And the last option is going to be the menu bar. We can also use the menu bar to have access to our customer list or customer center. So let's try to look at some of those options that we spoke to, and we see how we can be able to go through the customer list or the customer center. One of them, we said we can use the flowchart. This is the flowchart on the home screen or on the home page. We can click on customers. And when we do that, this is what we call the customer center or the customer list. We can see the number of customers that are here. There are very many. That's one way. The second way, we can cancel this. The second way is to go to our icon bar. This is our icon bar. And we click on customers. When you click on customers, it will also take you to the same place, which is this. And it will also be showing you the customers, the different customers that we have. The third alternative, or the third option, is by looking at our menu bar. We go to the menu bar. This is the top layer here is the menu bar. We look for customers. Then we go to customer center. It will still take us to the same location. So all those three options, they take you to the same exact place. If you click on customer as our first option, it will take you to the customer center or the customer list. So as we've seen, this is now our customer center or the customer list. Now, if you are looking at this customer list here, this is the list of customers. You will see that these customers, they are listed. In other words, they have these bullet points. This is one customer, this is one customer, this is one customer. But underneath each customer, we have what we call the jobs. And these jobs are indented. In other words, they are not on the same line with the customer. There is a distance from where the customer begins, which shows that these jobs, they are under or they are underneath that particular customer. So for every customer we are seeing, they all have the jobs. But as we said, not all of us, we are going to be using jobs in QuickBooks. Some of us, we are just going to be having customers, and that's all. Because we said a job is anything, any activity that you are going to be doing for that customer. So some of us, we are just going to be having business whereby customers, they just come and buy. We don't do anything for them. So if you are not doing anything for them, let's say if maybe it's a company that is trading, that is selling, let's say, merchandise, you will just have customers, they will be coming and they will just be buying from your shop. You are not doing any service to them, or you are not doing any work to them. So that means you will not be interested in those job features. So that's basically what I wanted you to understand from that perspective. But now, the second thing I want you to notice is that these customers are listed in an alphabetical order by last name. They are listed in an alphabetical order by their last name. In other words, but what you have to understand is that this is not automatic. Listing your customers in an alphabetical order by their last name, it's not automatic in QuickBooks. You actually have to set it up that way. And that's probably the best way to set it up. You start with the last name, comma, first name. It's set up in that perspective, and that's the best way to actually do that. Just because it is the best way to do that, it doesn't mean that you are supposed to actually do it in that format. If you want another narrative, if you want them to have maybe their first name and then their last name, it can also become in that order, because these we just set them up. So you don't have to set it in a way that you are seeing it here, but you set it according to what you want to have. But this is the best way of setting last name, comma, first name. But all in all, what you have to be doing, all the main idea here is that you have to be consistent. If you say I'm going to start with the last name, comma, first name, then you have to be consistent to all the customers. Consistency is needed for you to have a clean work. Then if you are choosing to start with your first name and comma then last name, then you have to be consistent to that approach or that arrangement. But that's how you are going to set up your customer list. And the other thing you will also notice is that you will notice that you will see the balance the customer owes you over in this column here. This is the balance for this. You are seeing the balance is $14,510. So you are seeing them, they are here. In this column, you'll be having the balances. What you are still demanding from those different customers. Their balances are going to be in this column. Then the other thing is that you will also notice that we have the last column here, which is called attach, which means attachment. It's an attachment section, which would be maybe, let's say you have a bill that you received, or there is something you want to attach to that specific customer so that you don't have to actually search it in your computer. You may attach, maybe you had agreed, there are certain things you had agreed with the customer, you can attach a copy here so that when you need to actually review the client's information, you can actually see what you have agreed with the customer. So it is very important to understand that from here you can make any attachment that you actually want to attach on a specific client or customer. So when you're looking down here, down the list, as you are just looking at the customers here, down the list, this is the list as we are moving downwards. I want you to notice something. We can now see that currently we are looking at active customers up here in this down arrow. We are seeing that we are looking at active customers. But you can also click in this down arrow and you can look at those customers. Let's say you can look at all the customers. You can look at, or you can look for customers that have an open balance. Those are the ones. Customers that have an open balance, those that you are still demanding. Maybe you can also look at the customers that are still having some overdue invoices. Those, they are not there, but if they were there, you could actually say them. And lastly, you can look at the customers with almost due invoices. So this is a down arrow that will show you all the customers, but we can actually try to look at all. If you click on all customers, you will notice that if there were any customers that were inactive, you will actually see them, see those customers. In other words, you would see those customers on this list because we are looking at all the customers that the company has. So someone may be wondering, what do you mean by inactive customers? What I mean by an inactive customer is an inactive customer is one that may be you haven't seen that customer, let's say in 4 to 5 years or 10 years. You've not been seeing, or they have not been coming to buy from your shop or from your company, or you have not delivered any service to them, or you haven't done any work for them in last 5 years or 10 years. And the other thing I want you to understand, to notice that you can actually, if you are in this section for all customers, you can actually make some of these customers hidden. In other words, you can make them inactive. So how do we make those customers inactive? Or how can we hide those customers from our list? You can come to this corner where you are seeing this X here. If you click on this X and you place it to any customer, that customer is going to be hidden. And if those customers, they have jobs, if let's say I click on a customer that has a job, if I click on this X and I'm putting it on a customer that has a job, just we are seeing this one, the person we are seeing, he has a job, and we are still seeing the balance. QuickBooks is going to be giving you a warning that, are you sure you want to make this customer inactive? Because the customer has a job and the customer hasn't actually paid you the full amount for the job that you did. Because we've made these other ones inactive and we've not been seeing this warning. But we only receive that warning if at all we have a customer that has a balance or that has a job that is still pending. So that's how we hide customer and a job. Or that's how we can make the customer and a job hidden. And if we hide them, what that means, it means they will never show up. In other words, they will not show up in those active customers again, and you will not be able to see them on this list as long as you are looking at the active customers. But what you have to note is that if you have a customer you have made inactive and you would like to activate that same customer, here let me say no to this, because I don't want to make that customer inactive. Like we are seeing these customers, we made them inactive, but you want to activate these same customers. Then we can also do that by just deleting this X that we are seeing here. You come on this X and you make sure it will ask you, do you want to activate the customer and these jobs? Then you say yes. And we are seeing the X that was on that customer is now removed. And what that means, it means those customers are going to show up in our list of active customers. So that's what we meant on those making customers inactive and activating them. So one may be wondering, how do we be able to add some customers in this list? Or how can we add new customers to this list? That's what we are going to be looking at shortly. But now, before we look at that, I want you to notice something. If I just click on, and let me go back and look at active customers alone. So these are the active customers that we have. Now, if I want to see the client's information, what you do, you just click on the customer, or on the customer name, the customer line. When you click, you can be able to see this customer information. And if I want to see the customer job, I also come here, I click on the job. I can also get the job information for that specified customer. But remember, we said we can actually do so many activities or so many jobs for a single customer. That's why we are seeing for this Christy, we have Christy as a customer. We are seeing the customer information. But for Christy, we are doing so many jobs for that particular customer. We are seeing we have family room, we have kitchen, we have remodel bathroom. The reason as why we are seeing some of these as because we are looking at this is the sample file, and we said this was a construction company. That's why most of the terms you are hearing, they are from the construction perspective. So hope you can be able to get that. But I wanted you to notice that you can actually see the customer details. And if you want to edit those details, you just come to this pencil here. This small icon of a pencil, it is the one, when you click on it, it says edit. So you can edit the information and you put what? Maybe the customer shifted the location and now you want to put the right address for that particular customer. You can actually do that. So what you are seeing from this section, you are seeing that this customer information we are seeing in terms of, we are getting information in terms of the customer names. We are seeing their billing address, the phone numbers, email address, and things like that. Those are the things that we are actually seeing in this section. But I want you to notice something. There is something I want you to notice from this customer information. We are seeing that the customer email, the email of that particular customer, is actually a link. What that means? What that means is that if you happen to maybe to send an email to the customer, you can actually do it right here without moving out of QuickBooks, because these email address, they come in a link form. So just know that if you could actually want to email that specific customer, you can actually do that from this point, because the email address, it doesn't come as a text, it comes as a link, which means it's going to be active. You can actually send the email address without leaving QuickBooks. So, but as we have done this, we've seen this information, we can actually, as we've seen the customer information, but I want also to note something on your right here, this right side. Over here, we are seeing that in this section, there are any notes that are pinned. Just because here we are not seeing anything, but if you can actually start typing in there, you can actually see the notes that have been pinned to this customer. You see, if we just click on that, it opens up. So there are some notes that you can pin to this section right here. So pinning that information right there, what does it mean? Because someone may be wondering, what does it mean for us to actually have that note? And just like the way you can put a stick note on someone's invoice, it is the same way you are going to pin a note on that particular customer. Maybe you had agreed something with the customer and it's something small, you can just put it there. Maybe you had agreed, you had the sales people, they had negotiated with the customer and they wanted to give that customer a discount. You can just write a small note on that same customer and you pin it to that for future reference, because someone may say, maybe having a contract that every time I'm buying from your shop, you are giving me a 5% discount. For you not to forget, you can just put in that note right there and you can pin it, so that anytime you open it, you can actually come to realize what you agreed with the customer. So it is the same thing, just because this item here is very small, but you can actually see the notes from the notes tab here. This is the region where we are going to be seeing all the notes that you have on that specified customer. So you can also click on another customer and you see the customer. We see those that we actually have, maybe we have a note, if at all we can see them. So we are not seeing any that has that note right here. But you can actually see all the customers that having a note. Maybe to put something on the newer version, I had forgotten. On this side, when we are still on this side of the note, on newer versions, you may find that you can actually be able to drag some of these. You can be able to drag the note that you have for that customer, and you can be able to drag it and you put it somewhere. You can just drag it and put it down a little bit. We shall see those ones in a newer version as we proceed with our QuickBooks tutorials. So just stay connected, subscribe, like, and you can also share to your colleagues so that they can actually benefit and see what you have actually got from that customer. But still, from the same link here, we are seeing that we can actually have some reports. We can have a quick report. We can see open balance. We can show estimates. We can have customer snapshot. A snapshot is just showing whatever transaction that we did with the customer, that specified customer. So we can see for that customer, we have estimate feature here. We can see the estimates that we have for that specified customer. So you are seeing all of this information is just within this section. And the other thing is that we can also, before we leave this section, the top side, the customer information, we are seeing that we have also a map. What does that help us? Because if you have maybe the customers placed an order and you want to make delivery for that specified customer, but you are not sure of the location, you've gotten the location here, but you can't actually guess the exact place. If maybe the person who is taking the thing cannot actually know, you can just get the map here, and you also be able to get the direction to that specified customer. So that is going to be giving you the address of the customer. You can actually see the customer right here, and you can be able to reach to their location very fast. So now, since we have done with the upper part, we can actually look at the downer buttons here. We are seeing there are buttons of there is this. We are seeing there are 5 buttons that we have. We have the transactions, we have the contacts, we have the to-dos, we have the notes, we have send, email. Those are the several tabs that we are seeing down here. The first tab, we've said, the first tab automatically shows you all the transactions for this specific customer and job. But what you have to notice here is that we are looking at all transactions for that specified customer. Maybe let's look at this, the one which has more jobs. At least this one is giving us more transactions. We can focus on this Christy. She has so many transactions that we are actually seeing on this, but the other one had very few. But still the same information that we've been seeing. We have the map, we have the direction for that specified customer, but I want to focus on these downer buttons that we can click on and we see what is there. So the first tab actually shows you all the transactions for this customer and job. And you will notice that I'm looking at all the transactions for that customer, Christy. But now, if I click, let's say, on family room here, family room, this is the customer. I've clicked on the customer. But now if I change and I click on the job, which is the family room, you'll also see the job information, and you also see the transaction that we actually had with that particular job. These are the transactions that we have for the specific job of family room. In other words, construction of a family room. You can also look at the transaction that we have on construction of a kitchen. Then you can look at the remodel of the bathroom. There are so many transactions. Some of these transactions, they may include the estimates, they may include the invoices, they may include even the checks, they may include even the credit memos, like the way we looked at them. All those transactions that we had with that specific customer or with that specific job, they are also going to be shown here. So that's what we got for that specific job. Hope that is clear as far as the jobs, the customers and jobs are concerned. In other words, we try to look at all the information, because this same information you are seeing here, you will also need to have all this information that you when you are filling in any new customer. So if we've said if you want to edit anything, I've given you the icon. I've shown the icon. It is here where you can be able to edit all the things, all the contact information for that specified customer. If there is anything that you want to edit, maybe the customer, they have changed their location, maybe the customers, they have changed their telephone numbers or the contact information, you can actually look at that information there. So now let's try to look at the contact tabs. This is the contacts tab that is right here. We've seen the transactions. We have seen there are so many transactions for that specific customer. So let's look at the contact tabs. We are seeing that's the information that we are seeing when you look over to that contacts tab. And in this field, we are going to be having any contacts related to this customer or job. But right now we are seeing we have Christy, and she's the primary contact here. We can have the secondary contact. In other words, these are the people within the organization that we are actually going to reach out to. Because if you are writing for the customer, if you are going to have an engagement with the customer, you must be having a specific person you are going to be, or they have given you, or they have allocated to you, that for any communication in terms of anything that you are going that is related to what you are doing, there is a person you are supposed to be communicating to. So the first primary contact was Christy. Secondary contact is Steve. So those are the things that we are going to be seeing from that contact tab. We will be seeing the information that is actually going to be related to that specific client in terms of the contact information. The other thing that you'll also notice is that down here, there is where we can manage contacts. Down here, there is where we manage contacts. So what is that going to help us? If you click on this icon, you can actually have to, you'll be able to have, maybe to add, you'll have an option of adding a new contact person. You can be able to edit the selected contact. You can also be able to delete the selected contact. In other words, that's going to help us if at all maybe they change roles. You've been dealing directly with the accountant, but now they have changed the accountant. You can be able to edit that person, or the company maybe they had assigned you, they had given an assignment, and they had allocated for you maybe to be reporting or to be inquiring from the accountant, and you find that now the company has changed. Now you are supposed to be maybe requesting whatever information that you want from the procurement officer or the procurement manager or the head of department of that kind. So That's where we go if at all we want to change something. If at all there is something that we want to change with that contact tab. But now, maybe to just give you something, let me just click on edit selected. I've selected Christy. So let me click on edit selected contact. There is something I want you to also pick from this. You are seeing there is a tab there, or there is a screen that pops up. On that screen that comes up, we are seeing that there are several fields that we can actually, we've got several fields that we can actually fill. We can be able to put in the customer, the job title of that contact person. We can also put their first name, then last name here. And then we are seeing these other fields that we are seeing here, down here. And you can use any of these options if at all you want, because now you can put their mobile numbers, you can put their email addresses, you can also put their worker phone numbers. So depending on whichever information you want to do or you want to put, you can actually reach out and be able to adjust the information as you want to finalize. Then you can also change whether this person has been the primary contact, but you can change it and you make sure that maybe this person is going to be an additional contact or is going to be our secondary contact. So depending on the information that you want. But for now, I'm not going to add any information because this is a sample file that I'm using right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cancel this for now. But what I just wanted you to understand is that the information is there. If at all you want to, there is anything that you want to change from that contact tab. So the next tab that we are seeing here is your to-dos. To-dos or to do are things that you have to take care of. In other words, those things are related to this same customer or job. And a to-do might be, maybe you want to, you need to send, let's say, you need to send an email to the person. You need to send a fax. You need maybe to schedule a launch, let's say a lunch meeting. Maybe there is something you want to launch with that customer. You have a meeting with that customer. In other words, you are setting these up so that you can be able to work on the plans in respect to that particular customer. So any of those, they are what we call the to-dos. In other words, these are going to be things that you are going to do to that specific customer. If at all you have maybe a meeting with the customer and there are certain things you need to discuss with the customer, you can actually set them up from here. Because now someone may be wondering, how am I going to be making some of those things? Let me show you how you can actually have those taken care of. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come down here to manage to-dos. And what I'm going to be selecting here, I'm going to create a new to-do. Create a to-do. When I click on that, it's going to open up that dialog box that you are seeing to add a to-do. In other words, we are adding things that we are going to do for that specific customer. And we've said that a to-do can actually be a call. Maybe you want to call a customer, you have to schedule a meeting, you have an appointment, there is a task you want to do, you want to email that customer. So those are the the things that are calling for action. In other words, you are setting things up to, depending on what you had agreed with the customer, so that you can, when you are working in QuickBooks, you can actually see some of those things that before you actually forget. So if it is a call, then what you want to find out, is it going to be, what is the priority of that call? In other words, is it a higher priority? Is it a medium priority? Because if you click on this down arrow here, you will see, is it a higher priority, a medium priority, or it is a low priority? In other words, how important is that call? Is it needed? Because there are some calls that maybe the customer, you had agreed to call the customer, but if you see, if you look at the call, even if you don't make it, you can actually finalize with the customer. So you set the priority. Is it going to be of a higher priority or not? So, and this is going to actually assume that you are going to be doing that with the customer. So you can change it. It may be a lead, it may be a customer, it may be a vendor, it may be an employee. But since we are in customers and jobs, this is going to be assumed to be a customer. That's why you are seeing that one is already selected, but you can actually change it if at all you want to. The other item, the other thing that you are seeing here, you can actually set your due date. You can actually set a due date for this. There is a due date. You can actually say, I have an appointment with the customer, but the customer gave me an appointment, let's say on 10th, let's say on 15th, any month. Then you can actually set that, and you can also set the time when you're supposed to meet. So those are some of the things that you can actually do right there. So let me just say, it's supposed to be, the schedule is supposed to be 11th March 2024. You can actually put the time. Maybe we are supposed to meet. Let me just put any time. This is AM. So we are supposed to meet at 8. So you are setting this up for that specific customer. So you have even put the specific time for that customer. But down here we are going to put in the details of what we have actually setting up. In other words, we are putting details here that maybe I'm meeting this customer for such and such a reason. I'm meeting this customer to close a deal. I'm meeting this customer to discuss maybe the taxes and all that. So you put a reason for the call. If it is a meeting, you put a reason for the meeting. So those are some of the things that you can actually see from there. Then the other thing is we are seeing the status here. It is by default in active. And what this means is that you can actually tell QuickBooks that the status of this call is still actually active, or we haven't actually met the customer. And when you're done meeting the customer, you can come here and say maybe done. You change that to done. You can actually decide to say inactive. Maybe you didn't actually turn up. Maybe the customer never picked your call and all that. It means the thing were not complete. You can actually leave the status as inactive, and then you can come down here and click OK. Let me just come and click OK. So it has brought this warning because we've not put in some of the things. They are not filled. We have not put in the details. So we can come here and say we are making an appointment or closing business. Let me say closing business deal. and then I can finally say, I can come here and I click OK. And when I click OK, you can actually see a to-do has been added in my item for that specific customer, Christy. Hope that one is a bit clear, or it clarifies some of the things that you wanted to know. But now, someone may be wondering, because we are seeing the format here, it is already listed. But now someone is going to be asking, how do I know that actually, oh, how is QuickBooks going to let me know that I still have to make a call for this customer? The only place you are going to see this showing up, it is only when you first, like when you're just opening the QuickBooks app for the first time. If you come and start running QuickBooks, you open QuickBooks for the first time, the first thing that you will see, if at all you have, maybe you have turned on the preference to show reminders, it will come as a reminder, but it will only come, or QuickBooks will only show that to you if you just log in into your company file. That's when it will show you that reminder that you have with the customer. But that is only going to come if at all you set up those preferences under reminders list. And then now we can actually see that we have completed that to do. So if you find that you have completed that to do, it will just come and show done in terms of the status, because the status here we are seeing all. When you click on this done, you'll be able to see those that are done, but here it is by default in all in terms of the status. So that's what I wanted you to actually know from that to-do list. So that's what we actually wanted to see. But if you want to edit anything, you can just double click on this and you come here. You can actually come here and make it active. Then you click OK. So that's how we keep adjusting some of those things. You can edit from this point, but it is also fine to just come and double click, because double clicking, it is the same thing like going to manage to do and you select edit the selected to do so. Hope that one is very clear. So having understood that, we can actually go ahead and leave that. Hope now you are seeing a difference. When I adjusted, let me show you. When I double click on that and I make it the status active, there is a difference. Here there is no tick. Here on done there is no tick. It means it's still active. But if you just double click on it and say it's done and click OK, you'll find here there is a tick, which means it is already a completed idea. That's why here you are seeing it is still reflecting, but if you click on active, it will not show up. So hope you can actually be able to realize some of these things. So that's very important, and that's very important for us to actually understand. So the next thing that I have to see here, or the next tab, is what we call the notices. Good enough, this customer has a notice. It is coming up here. You are seeing up here there is a note that has been. So in those newer version, you can actually be able to drag some of this information up and down. So that information was pinned there. But we can see from the note tab, this same information that we are seeing up here, it is the same information that we have down here. So we want now to have something from the note. And from this note tab, is where we set all the notice. In other words, all the notes related to this particular customer or job, they are going to be done here. This is where we come and we add a new note. So how do we add new notes? You come down here to manage notes. You click on this down arrow. This down arrow is going to bring for you. You can actually edit the one that is selected. You can actually come and add a new. You can actually delete a selected note. So, but now we can maybe be as if we are trying to add something. There is something I want you to note. This note is already here. You are seeing it brings the information of the customer and all that, the primary contact and all that. We can cancel this for now because I'm not going to do any note. I'm not going to make any note. But what I just want to explain from this point is that how are we going to be receiving some of this information? Is it going to come as a pop-up? In other words, it is coming as a reminder, or it's going to be coming as what? So when you try to come here and say add a new, I want to just explain a few things within here before we actually look at anything else. We can see that if at all you want to add a date and stamp, date stroke time stamp, you can have a note just like the way you're seeing here. It says 9th, it says September 15th, 2003. So this date you are seeing here is actually coming from this point. This is where we click to be able to add that. So you are seeing I've clicked on that. You can actually, I've added a date. Today is 10th March 2024. I've even added the time, 16 minutes past 9. And we are seeing we have even the 9 seconds. So this is what it means. You click here and you can be able to add it there. That's why you are seeing it has these semicolons. Then you start typing the information that you want to actually pin from that point. So that's why you are seeing that this information is actually, because the contact information that we are seeing up here is the one that is reflecting here, because this is Christy and is our first primary contact, is the one that we have. So that's why you are seeing this information is reflecting. It is showing the name of our primary contact. And now you are seeing here there is what we call new to do. There is a tab down here called new to do. In other words, you can actually change this note into a to do, just like the way we've seen. You can do it right from here without going the other side. And the last thing, you can actually print. You can actually print that note if at all you want to do that. So you can go ahead and click OK if at all you are done. But for now, I'm not going to create that because we already have a note. Let me just cancel this out. But this is how we get the information. It pops up here, and that's how we can be able to get that note up here. If you just drag on this, you can actually see all the details of that note. They are also saying on October 15th, 2003, they are telling us that further discussions of bathroom remodel, I offered 10% discount on the project if she would sign the contract now. So those are some of the things that you are actually giving the customer, and you can actually see them right from there. So that's how we pin. It's like when someone just put a stick note and put some information. which is mostly done in office work. It is the same way you can actually do it here, but it's going to be online. So that's how we create that note. So let's look at the last tab here, which is called send email. This is the last tab that says send email. In other words, the sent email, those are the emails that we have actually sent out maybe to the customers and all that. So you have the ability in QuickBooks to email different documents. That's why I was telling you from this point here, this email address is a link. What that meant was you can actually send an email from here without closing QuickBooks. And all the emails that you have sent, maybe you have been sending an invoice to the customer, you have been receiving, maybe you have sent a demanding note. So all that information that you have sent out as an email, they are going to be coming here. You will be able to actually see them from that point. Maybe you want, let's say, to email a purchase order, you want to email an invoice, you want to email a bill to a customer. So those are the things that you actually do from that point. And the other thing is that we can actually come here and we'll create a new transaction. We can actually remove some of them. Maybe the emails we want to remove them, if at all, because we are not seeing any here. Otherwise, this remove selected email record would be active if at all you had any email that we sent out to this very specific person. So, as I said, this is the tab that you look at, and it will be the one to show you a list of those things that you have emailed out to that customer. So, those are things that we have actually looked at from this point. So if for those who are going to be using, maybe to add something, for those who are going to be using newer versions, for those that are going to be using newer versions, you may find some different things here in this tab, in this screen here. So if there are those new things that we can actually see, those ones we can actually see them from that point when we look at those newer versions. Maybe to look at this tab, because we've been looking at customers and jobs. But now let's shift from these customers and jobs and we look at the transactions. When you click on these transactions, this is a tab. It is within the customer list. So this is going to help us be able to create new transactions, because this is where we are going to create an estimate, invoice, statement, charge, sales receipt, and all that. These are the things, this is the information that we are seeing. We can actually come here and create those things. We can edit even the selected information. This is where we come and create some of all of these things that we are seeing here. So all those information that we are seeing, now here we are seeing all the estimates. We can see all the open estimates. We can also select the date that we want to see. So those are some of the things that we can actually see from that section. But now what I want you to understand is that if I want to create an estimate from this point, the chances of you being at this same screen that you are seeing here, they are going to be minimal, or they are not going to be there. Because if you just create this, it is going to take you to another screen, the screen for estimates. But what I want you to see is that I want you to have a look at the things that you can actually see at any screen that we are on. And some of these things, if we click on them, they are going to take us to another screen, which we don't want to actually do for now. But what I want you to understand is that you can actually see those right here. The other, we can create invoices. We can even add new invoices. These are the things that we can actually do. So, hope you have seen that option right there. Now let's try to look at these options. We've been seeing new customers. This is where we add new customers. You can add all the information you want from here. And after that, you click OK. That customer will be added. If you want to add a new transaction, you can also come here. If you don't want to check them from down here, this is the same information that we can access from this point. So we can also print out anything that we want from that specific customer. We can also come here on job information. We can look at all the information right here. And we can also be able to edit if at all we want to. This is where we can also be able to export. There is a point where we can also be exporting any file. It may be an Excel file, and we want to export those transactions. Then we can do that too, from that perspective. We can also import. So we can also bring in the Excel file. Maybe we have the customers that are already made in our Excel file. So we can actually do that, and we transfer that customer list that we set up in Excel, and we import it in here. And the other thing, we can also just copy and paste from this same tab. So we have all the options right here that we can actually have. So those are the things that we can actually have at that point. And we have also options where we can do mail merging. In other words, we send some of these to emails and all that. So, as I said, for the newer versions, you may be having so many things here. This is where you're seeing what we can export, what we can create, whatever information that we can actually do from this point. If you go to the advanced feature here, you will also be seeing how you can be able to import some of those items, but I'm not going to do that for now. So hope we have seen all those that we are seeing here. So let's go ahead and stop this video right here. And this was part 1 of customer and job. So I want to take you into part 2, where we are actually going to look at setting a customer, and that way you can see all the fields where you can put the information related to a new customer or job. This is what I'm going to be looking at in part 2 of this video. So thank you for watching. Until we meet again, it's bye for now.